Good morning and a fine Friday, what it is. But people, of course, going to work must be experiencing traffic jam across the city and across towns in Kenya. And those traveling upcountry long distances must be experiencing the roughness of our roads. Now, the man to explain why we continue to experience these hardships is in the studio. He's none other than Transport Cabinet Secretary, Engineer Michael Kamau. It's going to be a Q&A, so if you're out there, send your questions to Engineer Kamau in the studio. The number is on your screen, 22422. Or you can also tweet me at Makali001 if you have questions. And I can see they're already in since I said you're coming in here. Mheshimiwa, this is going to be a clinic, a transport clinic.
Yep.
But let's first start with the Nairobi master plan. That's where it is. The biggest thing announced lately to lift Nairobians out of the traffic quagmire. Give us the highlights of what you intend to do. Although the governor has spoken, the county government is working in collaboration with the national government. What is coming?
Now, I gazetted a task force, which has officers from the national government and county government, and appointed the chairman, the road executive for the county government to be the chair. They presented a report to us with the governor about 2 weeks ago, and this is the plan that we intend to implement. And within that task force, we have people from national government, consultants, 3 consultants working with us to try and reduce the jams in Nairobi.
Right.
If we go back, you recall that during the days of the Nairobi Metropolitan, the Ministry of Nairobi Metropolitan, they attempted to do that.
Yes.
But then the infighting with the then City Council,
Yes.
just ego,
Yeah.
stopped us from doing this.
Yeah.
And this was to close some streets, make them one way,
Yeah.
you know.
Some were closed earlier on.
Yeah,
Small
but now
places
people
within
decided
the CBD.
that, you know, it's like, anyway,
Yeah.
what we are doing now
Yes.
is, first of all, within this program, we are going to have traffic simulation, a computerized traffic simulation, where we look at movement of vehicles, something we should have done a long time ago, but we are doing it now.
Right.
This is going to take another 3 weeks. But before then, we are going to carry out some measures that basically are going to be stopping the right-turning vehicles at roundabout. The through traffic, the studies that we have done indicate that the through traffic, say on Uhuru Highway,
Right.
which is a major spine road for Nairobi, is 75%. And therefore, if we give priority to traffic on Uhuru Highway, we are likely to reduce the jams so that we don't allow vehicles to come and cut through. For example, Westlands Roundabout. We allow at that roundabout only vehicles going into town and those going to Ayaki. So you cannot come from Rapta Road and cross over
Into Westlands to go to Peponi.
Neither can you go from Westlands and cross over to Rapta. So what do? If you are on Rapta Road, you you turn left, because left turning traffic can go all the time. So you turn left because you use a slip road. After a distance, you have maneuvered and gotten to the inner lane and then turn down through a U-turn and come down. So that's what we intend to do.
Right.
If you want to go to Rapta Road and you are in Westlands, you won't cut through the traffic. You go down up to the gate of Consolata School or Mission.
Yes.
Then you do a U-turn and then climb up, maneuver, go to the left-hand side, and then go onto Rapta Road. So that way the traffic will be flowing up and down. The same thing is going to happen to the other roundabouts. So we cut the right-turning traffic or through traffic.
The two, okay, let's just quickly run through them. So you have dealt with Nairobi, with Westlands. Now you come to University Way.
Westlands, University Way, GPO, specifically GPO and Haile Selassie, we are going to leave for the time being.
GPO and Haile Selassie.
And
Kenyatta Avenue, Valley Road.
When we go now to Nyao Roundabout,
yes,
the one at Bunyara Road.
Yes.
What happens if you are coming from Langata? Okay, you cannot use the slip road to join Langata Road. You come from Langata Road, yes, you can turn left to join the Uhuru Highway. But anybody now coming from on the Aerodrome Road, which is the slip road allowed Nyayo Stadium, normally you come, you can join traffic, you cut through traffic that is on Uhuru Highway to go to town, or you cut through traffic that is on Uhuru Highway to go to industrial area. That will not be allowed. So what will happen, if you want to go to industrial area, you come through
Langata Road, Main, up to the roundabout,
join the roundabout without cutting through traffic, go up to the Bunyara roundabout, do a U-turn, and then come and enter from the entrance of Toyota Kenya, the road that we are expanding.
Down there,
If you're on Uhuru Highway.
What that create a lot more traffic of people again coming down from Mombasa Road, coming into town, because you're joining high traffic again.
The traffic will be moving, because basically you are not cutting through. If you are on Uhuru Highway and wanting to go to Rangata Road, we will not allow you to do a right turn at that roundabout. You go through the flyover, come down, join traffic without stopping anybody, come, flow, and then go out.
But you're only talking about roundabout. What about highways? Why you have traffic?
Where?
Like Thika Road.
No, number one.
The explanation is that most of the Uhuru Highway traffic is 75% of what, you know,
what we've said,
the vehicle traffic is 75%.
These are
CBD.
Immediate. This is something that we do within 2 months. There is immediate, there is mid-term, and then there is long-term. Part of the long-term.
So just before you go to the long-term, so these changes you've just outlined of changing, ensuring on left turns are going to take effect within what time?
Within the next 1 month. Because what we are doing now is sensitizing, preparing for
then you begin doing
the borads,
adjustment.
The borads now, getting the borads to block
those
to block the roads, to block those entrances, do a bit of road marking, and then in the midterm we remove the roundabouts, the 5 of them at Kenyatta Avenue. I mean, what do you call it?
Starting with Westlands.
We start with Westlands.
University Way.
We come to University Way. We come to GPO. Haile Selassie, Bunyara, and Nyayo Stadium.
Right.
The effect of that is that we must have signals. We must have now signals, because actually is a junction at grid. So when you are here, you are able to see the other vehicles. What will that do? If you notice, traffic is opened clockwise, okay? And at one time, only one vehicles from one direction can move. For example, let's go to GPO. If you are GPO on Uhuru Highway coming from Nyayo Stadium, the moment that those vehicles you open for them to move to go to, say, Nakuru, you allow the street traffic, okay? Therefore, you must block the vehicles coming from Serena. And then there are those that turn right to get into town. And therefore, you block the vehicles coming from Westlands into town. So you block all the other
to allow one
vehicles.
Passage,
Now, by removing now the roundabouts, what we do 2 things. All the right-turning vehicles, you hold them. So if you are turning to get into town, you are stopped. If you are coming from Westlands and you wanted to turn to go to Serena, you are stopped. And we allow the through traffic, the ones on the outer end. So if you are on GPO going to Westlands, you can turn to go to Serena and you can go straight without any impediment. If you are coming from Westlands, you can go towards Nyayo Stadium and you can turn left to go to then.
But you know, that's
just a moment.
Okay.
Then we hold now the traffic that is going through. And what this allows us is to allow the right turning traffic to move simultaneously, something that they could not do because of the roundabout. Now you do a small curve if you're coming from Serena, and I do a small curve, and we don't meet. Do you get it?
So
I'm able to turn, and there is distance between us. So you turn that way, and I turn that way, and there is a gap between us. So that allows us to have double movements simultaneously. So that cuts also down on time. Now this must be accompanied by signaling and removal of the roundabouts. And we are going to tender. We are having a direct procurement, which now we are processing, so that we remove those. The third step now, which is long term, now involves the dedicated lanes for buses. And this, before we put in any infrastructure, we are just going to mark sections on particular highways, and this is what we are going to be informed by the study now. This study that we are doing. Where can we have now the dedicated bus lanes? High capacity, not the 24-seater. High capacity, which now the Gazette notice has come out. What I issued last year has just come out last week, that now you can have starting passengers on designated buses that can carry up to 110 passengers.
Are there such buses existing now?
They are there. They are there. General Motors is assembling them.
They are not on the road yet. They are coming.
They are not on the road because they were...
Yeah, they are coming because of
there was no registration. Even the double-deckers that we demonstrated last December, we had to wait for the registration. Now, NTSA now, National Transport and Safety Authority, working together with the county government, because the county government is the one, the NTSA gives the road license for any road service
providers
license, the TLBs. But the routes are now
controlled by the county government.
By the county. So they are the ones who say you stop here. So working together, first of all, we stopped issuing of any new licenses and any
for public service vehicles
within Nairobi, because there is an oversupply.
There
is a big oversupply. You know, you can have a route with 200 vehicles. And therefore have the time.
Which is part of the congestion. Now the problem is, you're saying you're going to introduce these bus lanes. Which those lanes are going to be used by who? The buses which are coming, which have higher capacity, or you're going to direct all the current matatus and buses and different providers onto that lane? So
that you leave your car at home and hop onto that bus that will be moving faster. That will be. You have to choose between the comfort of your car, your AC, your music. You are all spending 20 minutes.
I get it, engineer, but the point is organizing it, because some of those matatus, in fact, will not offer the comfort, the minimum comfort of traveling within the public transport sector. There are buses which are dilapidated. Some of them are competing. That's what I'm saying. How do you harmonize that?
If you had me, we said high-capacity buses.
Who is the owner of these high-capacity buses?
High-capacity buses now. This was now our plan. You recall that we organized the matatu sector into circles. Okay? And therefore, within the circles, there are savings. Some of them have saved a lot of money. And what we want to encourage is now these people, from their shareholding, to buy these buses.
The high capacity ones.
The high capacity. So you brought in our circles and their savings. And they are circles, mind you. Some of them are even giving loans to their people, 2 million bob to buy.
But the challenge, Mutegi, explain.
The buses, they are owned by different people. The competition, that risk,
that part,
that management.
Now that is now.
How do you bring order?
Good. Now this is where now NTSA and the county government working together determine the number of buses that will be required and how they will be moving. What time? The national government now comes in with incentives, because what we are saying, if you are going to run a bus, say at midnight, and we demand that you run a bus from midnight from Jomo Kenyatta, and there are no passengers, it has a capacity of say
50 or 49,
100, and you are not able to pick those passengers at that time. What can the government do to incentivize that movement? This is now where technology comes in. If you are running a circle, you must be on the ETR, okay? So you cannot say that you picked 100 passengers, that you picked one passenger, you've been running. You have 10 buses. Every bus is on ETR. So we are able to assess the number of passengers that you carried. You have had 100 trips. Then we can see that on average you carried 70 passengers. That may be the break-even number. So we are working with the National Treasury to see, do these people need to pay, say, VAT? Can the government give them waiver, so that the government actually pays for the VAT? These buses, because of the movement and the GPR system that will be there, will know that it has crossed probably 1,000 kilometers. Okay? Can we allow maybe these buses to replace their tires after 1,000 kilometers without certain payments. So spare parts, can we allow? So all this so that the government now kicks in, because some routes may not be profitable, but we would have to probably have a subsidy system.
Okay, that's obviously something that you need to tackle. But the question is, like now, if you go to Kencom, you'll find all manner of buses clogging up the roads there because they have to wait to fill the passengers. They're in competition even on routes after they leave those termini. How are you going to sort that out with the proposal to have bus lanes? Will those bus lanes be used only by the high-capacity buses, or every matatu, these circles will all put the matatus there with their different colors and shades and steps?
Number one, the buses will not come, you know, it has to be a process. So you cannot say that we are going to have only for the high-capacity buses. Yeah. In the meantime, we need to have a system to say if these are 25-seater or 35-seater, they can use that route where they have free movement. One of the things that we have done is that we stopped enforcing laws in this country. The buses are not supposed to spend 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes at any terminal. And these are some of the things that we want to enforce. Now, because who is giving you the license is the county government.
Yes.
You cannot give somebody a license without any precondition. Right now, only 4 companies. Do you know that only 4 companies are allowed into the city center?
But that's not the case.
No, they are just 4 companies.
In reality?
Yes, they are just 4 companies. All the others use Haile Selassie, they are not allowed to come. I think it is WM, City Hopper, and others. Therefore, it is possible, even now, with all the system, the way it looks chaotic, only 4 companies are allowed to go to GPO, to go to Kencom.
It is getting the movement so that they don't
it is getting the movement.
Stay there.
So we must have the bodies.
Okay.
We must have now the bodies to enforce so that you stop 5 minutes, and then eventually, from the monitoring, knowing that you have maybe 1,000 passengers that pass through, say, from Buruburu to on Jogoo Road at a particular time, what is the optimal capacity for buses? And that is something that has been lacking totally, because we've never had a model, traffic modeling of Nairobi. Yeah. What the model is also going to do is decide which road can we make one way.
Yes.
Right now, if we do it, we are doing it on ad hoc basis. It's from maybe observing. Right. But the traffic simulation, the modeling, is going to give us indications. Maybe Gong Road in the morning, make it one way. Open, make Agwins Kodek one way. Then put the routes here so that you can only go around if you want to change directions. Yes. It becomes a bit inconvenient, but at least everybody we keep the city moving.
Yeah. You talked about demolition, roundabout. Does that mean physical demolition?
It is physical. So that when
those are very beautiful places. How do you just demolish them?
I think you want the beauty at our inconvenience.
I mean those roundabouts are, they make
they've done it in Kampala. They've done it in other places. And I've said, what happens here is that you are able to have double movements as opposed to a single movement. So we have to forego some things. The beauty, the space to advertise, you know.
So what about timing of buses? We used to have a system where, every 5 minutes you get a bus. Or every 15 minutes. That I stay in this bus stop, I know number so and so comes at this time.
Eventually.
Is that going to be
eventually, and the big picture is this, that all the transportation, the bus system in Nairobi, and eventually in other towns, will be owned by SACCOs. So you, Mutegi Jaho, you could be having 10% in that bus company. I could be having 1%, he could be having 20%. But it is those people in that business. It's not a foreigner or some foreign company or a stranger whom we are going to bring. It is the people who have been operating. And that is why we've been encouraging them. And bus companies that are already there, because there are some bus companies, individual bus companies, that have proven capacity.
Well, one can only be optimistic that with the unidirectional and left turns that you're trying to reduce will work. Because up front, when you turn left, you see there are you're driving that traffic into onward traffic ahead. For example, if you take Valley Road, if you're going to allow that traffic to flow, you have to open up the road ahead as well.
Precisely.
Because it will just clog up. In fact, it will now jam will go all the way from Nyayo Stadium up to Hurlingham, because there's no flow up front.
But the basic thing is you have a distributor that is moving. For example, why look at the distance between Nyayo Stadium and going out and JKIA, there's no traffic jam. Absolutely. There's no roundabout.
Yes.
People change directions by doing U-turns within,
Yes.
within the media.
Main road, yes.
Within the,
Yeah.
So it is not a total solution.
Yeah.
It is not a total solution, but we have concentrated our efforts on Uhuru Highway.
Okay.
Number two, like the nation, Old Nation House.
Yes.
Okay, you know there is a terminal within the
That is on Tomboya.
on Tomboya Street.
Yes, yes.
Within the roundabout,
Yes.
the big roundabout. I think for Matatus for Remuru.
Yeah,
What they
Remuru,
do
Kiambu, yeah.
is they keep on circling. They pretend that they are getting out and then picking passengers to
Yes.
Naudoka, and then you end up
Yeah, yeah.
at the same station. What we are doing is we are going to block. If you come from Moi Avenue, you cannot go through. So we block that
That's circling.
that
yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
So if you have come from the thick highway,
Yeah.
you come. If you are matatu, you get in Aja, unatoka,
Yeah.
you go straight.
Yeah.
So there is no stopping.
Okay.
So now we ease the congestion that is coming from
Thika Road.
From Thika Road.
But also it goes on up to Odeon, that whole place, the whole of Tomboya going on up to
Then working
Archives and
now,
Accra Road
working
is still a
with
problem.
police and traffic wardens who are being trained now, because there is the city
Traffic marshals
the traffic marshals
with NYS.
with the NYS.
Yes.
All those people now we bring them on board. We have a budget up to the end of this year, maybe starting from May, where we will be paying people. What we are now toying with is, do we need people who are going to, again, we use resources to bring them, or can we get youth, train the youth from particular, if it is, say, a particular
Area.
section. They just come there in the morning, they're out at 10, they come back at 4. But we must do something, and that is what we are,
Yeah.
we
You
are
have
saying.
talked about bus systems. What about rail? And also, I saw somebody who told me he's got a contract with the government or somebody to do electric traffic, that you go to a car and goes up towards the building.
Cables?
Cables, yes. Somebody told me they got a deal with the government to do that. Is that true?
Maybe that is the national government, county government. I'm not aware. As
There's no plan for cables.
cables are expensive. They are very expensive.
What
Okay.
about
Number
rail?
one, I think what we are doing
Okay.
on rail,
Mhm.
we have had a contract for the commuter rail, but due to constraint of the resources, we've not been able to mobilize the contractor. But all these things should be done simultaneously. Of course, now the March talked about flyover for Uhuru Highway. We are starting the bidding
Yeah.
next month.
That road, which it was earlier planned for expansion,
Yes.
which were to move a lot of companies that had put up, including Samia, Standard Group, that line. Then there was a compromise.
They were never.
There was a compromise.
They were no.
Anyway,
no.
a
I
different
say
way
this,
was found
I
out.
was the PS because I would always like to clear.
Yes. What happened?
Some
in a
people just
nutshell?
hyped things. What we did is we were trying to see, when you are doing a study, you
Yeah.
see this is an option, this is an option, this is expensive. Eventually you go to what you say is a viable.
Yeah.
We had never given any notice of.
But you had lots of negotiations and meetings with those people.
Yes,
How can you say there was no such attempt?
No, these were designs. These were designs, and it had not been approved.
So why did
So
the
you
owners
get
of
all
those
sorts of-
properties
you
come
get-
to
you
have
get
all
all
these
sorts
meetings
of,
and
you got all-
petitions?
Because in part of our designs, we do consultation. What happens if we pass here? Then eventually, the land acquisition for those properties
Yeah.
was treble the cost of the project. Impossible. Even if we bought it, probably we'll still be buying and we would not be having a project by now.
The road we are talking about is the one which is overflying Nairobi from Nyayo Stadium to Westland.
No, from almost JKIA.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have a
Comes on
problem.
top.
We have a problem between the Southern Bypass and Westlands, because at that section we are still doing the studies because we needed to do a viaduct because it's very, very expensive to go either way. And then what we decided, the BRT that I was talking about, in order to create these two lanes, under the viaduct. We needed a bit of space, so the design is going on now. But we are starting with the road from Westlands up to Lironi, and then from JKIA up to Southern Bypass.
Okay. So we expect to have a, you know, what we call
it will be
bridge road.
It can be a cascade, a roller coaster, up, yes, and down. Some places it remains up.
Okay.
But definitely from St. James Hospital,
yes,
up to Westlands.
When will this project come into force according to plans?
By the end of this year. The contractor should commence
works on
it. The works will commence because we are doing the procurement from next month.
Okay. Yeah. Then let's look at the rest of the projects because we have a lot. You know, when you come here, we always need 5 hours.
We are here for decongestion.
Yes, we are doing decongestion, but you can't escape mentioning some of the grand projects, updates on how far we are. And there are many roads which people are still asking about. But Mombasa Road, even as you plan to open it up, is still a problem for people who are using it. Lots of morning jam, even Thika Road, still a big jam.
Yeah.
Those 2 roads, which are supposed to be trunk roads into Nairobi and out, are not giving much relief to the users.
Now, there has been a relief, of course, that you agree that the situation was not the way it was before. And definitely, if we had not made interventions, it would have been worse off. One of the major problems that we have is the bumps that we have on Thika Road.
Yes.
Which is a compromise between road safety and typical behavior and the resources that we had. That there are places where we have very many pedestrians crossing, and it would be very dangerous if we left the place without without a footbridge. So we didn't have the money to build the footbridges, and therefore the compromise is to have
bumps to slow down the
bumps
traffic.
to slow down the traffic.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, today I've just seen in one of the newspapers, I think along Mombasa Road,
yes,
they are showing the photo of a man who is trying to sprint
across the road.
Across the road, and the footbridge is there. So it's a compromise that we have, and that is what has slowed down.
Well, those footbridges are also far apart, one we must admit. And then secondly, they are very steep. Walking on those footpaths is not easy.
Well, it's better to walk through a steep, no, we provide inclines, even for wheelchairs and for...
The inclines?
Yeah, you know, slopes, as opposed to steps.
Yeah.
Everything now that we are doing has what we call ramps.
Yeah.
As opposed to steps. So there is a choice between steps and it's, you see,
I have seen
it's always, it's like life. You never have sufficient money to make all the interventions.
Yes.
And therefore you provide the compromise between what you want, what is needed, and what is desirable and what is affordable.
Talking about those footpaths, engineer, there has been a serious controversy around the costs of putting up those things on Mombasa Road. That they were exaggerated, that there is a,
the National Highway Authority is supposed to have built them expensive.
How are you attending to these charges? Who did it, first of all? Who was responsible?
This was contracted.
National government, or is it the county government?
This is national government. We've done them.
Why are allegations of exorbitant
I don't know. It was an open bid. If there has been allegations, then I think...
300 million to put up one footpath. Those are the figures which are coming out.
With what do you call it? There's traffic management. I don't know. I need to look at that and then probably give me time. I could respond.
It is not something you have looked into.
No, I've not
since
looked
the complaints
into that.
came out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have questions. I'm sure. Langata Road. It's still a congested route. Willis Raburu came here late this morning because could not make it, even though he had a puncture, but he couldn't make it on the road. And I have used it, engineer. And we had a major argument about this road when you were here last.
Was it the...
Going on to Ongata-Rongai.
The issue is, the issue, we've now made payments, and I think I've spoken about this several times. We've made payments to the people we needed to compensate.
Yes.
And you recall, I said the National Art Commission, we gave them money, but they did not pay the particular area where we wanted to work.
Yeah.
But they gave the money on a pro rata basis. Now we've paid the money. We are waiting for people now to move out.
Yes.
And we will start the work. The contractor is demobilizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Expansion of the road, any hope again? From Galleria to Ongata Rongai, that road is too narrow. Even unless you're very careful, you can drive off the road.
Yes,
up to Rongai.
There's a lot of work to be done in terms of road works, and these are some of the issues that we are addressing through the annuity program. For example, the road between Ongata Rongai, the touring of that road is part of our program that we are rolling out. We are opening the bids on 20th on 10th of April. I hope we receive competitive bids, because if the bids are expensive, then we will not award. We've issued guidelines on the cost just 3 weeks ago, so that contractors don't think that because we are very anxious to have roads, then they can come at any cost. Right. No, we've issued guidelines, we've shown how we've calculated our costs. Then from there we are saying this is the capital cost of building this road. Yeah. Now put in your administrative costs and any other interest on your loans, and any risks that you feel, price the risk and give us the cost of the road.
What about Gong Road, the dwelling of Gong Road?
Yes, Gong Road.
Gong Road, we've tried, we thought we could get a loan from the Chinese government. It's not forthcoming for the time being. We are still struggling, so we are putting it on the annuity program.
Yeah. When the president went to Meru, there was a road that was supposed to be built there at a very cheap cost per kilometer, and like what is being done here with some technology, I think, from some Asian country. Yeah. Why are we not using that to make the roads cheap to build?
You know, roads never disappear, so I have no problem. Let them build it at that. We have had others who have built their roads. Okay, if you looked at the newspapers, you saw what is happening. Anybody with any technology, let them use it. Number one, cost effective, fine. Open it to traffic, fine. The material that you are using, does it have any harmful effects on humans, on life, or on the environment? That is something that we need to know. The material is pro-based. We are also building roads at a similar cost, and I can take you to very many roads that we build at 20 million per kilometer. Then they say they are going to build it at 30 million, and then they are going to remain there for 5 years. We've encouraged the governor to go ahead. Those people came, we did tests for them. We have not completed the test. The governor is building, let him go ahead. There are lessons to be learned from everybody. That's why we went into devolved government. Anybody who can experiment or do anything that is cost effective, we are prepared to learn.
There's this road which was built with the cement around Kenyatta Hospital there.
Yes.
And that's on. Why we have not done many of those kind of roads?
Number one is the capital cost. Yeah, you look at the life cycle, the life cycle of a road, the cost. It is proven that if you spend the initial high cost on a concrete road, the maintenance cost and everything, the life cycle cost is lower than that of bitumen, because it can last for 40, 50 years with very little intervention.
Is that true of that road?
It's true. It's true. Like, we've not gone there to do any maintenance on the pavement. If it had been a bitumen road, probably we'll be seeing cracks. There will be a pothole here and there, and somebody would probably have driven with, say if it was on a farmland, with a plow, and then scrape the top rail, and then you'd be having potholes. So far, even if the water remains there, you have not seen any sort of erosion.
So the reason why you have not built it because it's expensive.
Now, the initial cost. If you have, say, $1 billion, do you build 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers of a concrete road, or do you build now 100? So it's balancing. We are not at that level now where we would say, okay. But there are areas where the traffic is very heavy. One of the reasons that informed the building of that road is the steep incline and the tracks, the way they move. So this could be an intervention where we find that we have very heavy damage on our roads due to steep slopes. We could replace the bitumen sections with concrete sections.
The bypass, southern bypass, when is it opening? Somebody is asking.
The southern bypass, I think now we are in the final stages. You know, we've had a lot of problems with the national park, the 4 kilometers. We were forced to go back to the drawing board, and we just submitted an EMA report, which will now be discussed. Again, we go to public hearings shortly, I think in the next 2 weeks before we get into the national park. But what we are doing, what I've always said, we are going to provide restitution.
Yes.
Not what I call compensation. We use that land, it remains in the hands of KWS, and we buy land for them. We have already identified land, I think 87 acres for restitution.
That exchange business is... okay, so the road might open this year, if the bypass, say, by August.
If we can access the land by April, the contractor will have finished by the end of this year. He has told us that he needs 6 months.
That looks like quite some time to come.
Six months is a short time for 4 kilometers of a dual carriageway.
Okay, again, the problem now, since you said we just stick to Nairobi, I will honor that.
No, not necessarily.
So we deal with the congestion and finish. Nairobi motorcycle problem, menace, somebody is saying.
You know,
what do we do about it?
You know, it's not what we do.
Are there controls, regulations going to be instituted?
Yesterday I saw motorbikes at GPO, and you know, as long as people want to be popular, this is what brings down this country. That we want to solve, we want to make a few, and it's not about poverty. We are not going to eradicate poverty by allowing, and I said it,
free for all.
But it can't be free for all. So now you want to, we are pro-poor. And I don't sit here and for once pretend that I don't care about people.
Yeah.
But if we think that we can move people in Nairobi with motorbikes, then I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a mode of transport.
What about Mokokoteni?
I spoke about it. If you are going to have a Mokokoteni during rush hour, on Uhuru Highway, too bad. What we should now talk about is what we are saying about the NMT, non-motorized traffic. That, yes, we acknowledge that we were only focusing on motorized traffic, while we even forgot the pedestrians. People, 70% of the people, about 60% of the people in Nairobi walk to work. So we build the roads and we forget the footpath. That is why there is no road now that we are building that doesn't have all of them, all the areas that we are creating. We are creating space for pedestrians and for NMT. And Mokokotenis are part of NMT. So we address that there is a niche. But for the time being, you know, it's just like saying, okay, why don't we allow the light aircrafts into JKIA? and you know, if you allow a light aircraft with just a pilot and 2 people, and then you keep the Boeing, the 777 circling, to allow that aircraft to land, then at one point...
Engineer, are you sure we are going to hold this up to the end? You know, the border advocacy will go.
It's okay.
We'll go to the president and say we want income from here.
Let me tell you this.
Okay.
Let me tell you, we are all digging our graves by thinking that, you know, we have seen cities that have become ungovernable. Okay? Where people, you know, I don't want to name them, you know them, where the capital city becomes ungovernable and you decide to migrate. It's not the first time. Egypt, so as Egypt has just told us now,
they are moving from Cairo.
They are moving. So what happens? What happens when you find now a government says we cannot operate from here? First of all, they take your investment. It's going to be built. That new city will be built. Why can't we manage what we have? And this is what we are doing. Taking roads to Kibera. Okay. Why hadn't we built roads to Kibera? Does it mean these people did not hit roads? So, in addressing all these, we have a proper, you know, policy that addresses. We realize that not everybody drives, so we create those facilities for people. We have, but there is no way we can move mass movements with the motorcycles.
But would you, just finally, as we close the show, because we don't have much time, wouldn't you be thinking of lanes for motorbikes, for boda, so that you avoid accidents which are really very high?
They are motorized. Why do they are motorized?
I know they're motorized, but our unique situation might demand that we create a lane for motorbikes.
Non-motorized means yourself and myself walking, bicycles which are not motorized, and then mokokotenis. That is the NMT. So what you should be asking me is, why haven't you built these footpaths that are able to take the size of a mkokoteni.
Engineer,
And there I would say that is failure on our part.
Yeah. We'll have to come back. But let me just ask you one question to finalize. Two roads which are really, the questions are pressing. The road from to Lodwar, people say this road, when will be constructed? In fact, they're saying the president should drive on that road. And then there is which has been unfinished. Also, just you answer the two of them as we close down. Webuye to Kakamega. That road has stalled for 2 years. The questions here are very oppressive.
Now, the road to Lodwar, eventually now we have money. With our development partners, with ourselves, we are beginning to tender in about 2 months. The World Bank Mission has given us the go-ahead, and we are starting from Raseru, that's outside Eldoret, near Moi Barracks.
Yes.
All the way to Nakadok.
Yes.
608 kilometers.
Yes.
So there we are okay.
So it's coming.
It's coming.
How soon do people see footprints on the road?
By the end of this year. Because we do the procurement, we allow about 2 months for the bidding process.
So people were asking that question, and with the assurance that something is being done about it.
Yes, yes.
The Kakamega Webuye one that was stalled for 2 years, the contractor is not finishing. There's one from Sigalagala also.
I want to be very candid.
Yes.
How are we injuncted for okay, we terminated the contract as Minister of Roads.
Of that road?
Yes.
The contractor, yes.
Yes. The contractor went to court. Okay? Now listen to this. For 1 year, the case has not been heard. So we go there, there is the hearing is postponed. The hearing is postponed.
But your government, you can raise an issue. Why is this matter not proceeding? The public is,
I did consultations with the Chief Justice about 3 weeks ago. But that tells you that we have a basic problem. Because that is a national road. I mean, it is something of great national interest. But yet we cannot get hearing for more than 1 year. More than 1 year after the contractor took us to court. The matter has not been heard.
Thank you very much, Engineer. I'm sure the President can talk to the Chief Justice and the President of...
No, he doesn't. We do consultation.
About matters which are not moving quickly.
There is a separation of powers.
Of course,
there is separation, but there is consultation.
Like
and I've just said that where we think we have genuine problems, genuine problems.
So resolve it whichever way.
We resolve it. The Chief Justice is available. I said I've held a meeting with the Chief Justice about 2 weeks ago, where we discussed the wide range of issues that I feel are affecting my ministry in terms of...
It is not to ask them to resolve it in your favor, but to have it resolved
just resolve it one way or the other.
Yes. Thank you so much, Engineer. I mean, we really need more time, and I'll ask you to come back after 2 months when we have fixed the roundabout so that we can pick it up from there and look at the other infrastructure projects.
And then you tell me. What we are saying is, let's not sit. Let's do something. Let us fail, but let's try.
Yes.
And what we are doing as an immediate measure is from the studies that we have done, we think it will work. If it creates problem, then we reverse it.
Again, we know
before we get what I told you is the scientific answer, which is the computer simulation of traffic in Nairobi.
Thank you very much for coming, Engineer Kamau, the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, looking specifically at Nairobi congestion. In future, we look at the rest of the country. There are many questions you sent in, but we don't have enough time to deal with them. Thank you for watching.